Hello, everyone! The great and dreadful Halloween is celebrated on October 31st. On the eve of All Saints' Day, it's a good time to remember your favorite horror stories and get a couple of good scares, while knowing that nothing bad is actually going to happen to you. And today's movie promises to be dreadfully fun and eerily entertaining. 19th century, small village of Covington, Pennsylvania. Today is a tragic day for its residents. They are burying Daniel Nicholson, the son of Elder August. The boy was only 7 years old when disease took him to the afterlife. His father weeps inconsolably over the coffin and recites a prayer. After the ceremony, all the villagers sit around the table for a memorial meal. The head of the village, Edward Walker, delivers a comforting speech. He realizes that people may question whether it's worth living in such a remote and dangerous area. The man calls for perseverance and hopes for God's favor. Suddenly, a strange, distant howl comes from the forest. Everyone freezes, except for the local weirdo, Noah Percy, who cheers and claps his hands for some reason. Afterwards, everything continues as usual, and the village returns to everyday life. The children help with the dishes while the adults feed sheep and tend to the gardens. Two young girls notice a bright red flower. They pluck it and quickly bury it in the ground. At night, a lookout is on duty in a watchtower at the edge of the forest. A mystical figure dressed in red appears in the water's reflection. One morning, Walker goes to school to give a lesson. The children are crowding next to the building, looking at the mangled body of a lamb. Someone has ripped off its skin and snapped its neck, but left the meat untouched. No one knows how it got here. Walker takes the students inside and asks about the incident.
Who has done this heinous act?
Those who don't speak of killed it.
There it is.
The children have heard that these mysterious creatures eat meat and have terrifying claws, but the teacher warns against jumping to conclusions. Long ago, a pact was made with the monsters. People must not enter the forest, and in return, the creatures will not appear in the valley. Since then, no one has dared to cross these borders, so the children should not fear for their lives. Later, the elders hold a meeting. They're discussing the upcoming festivities when Lucius Hunt, the son of one of the elders, interrupts them. The young man wants to make a request, though he knows his mother, Alice, will not approve of it. He's been shaken by the death of the young Daniel. Lucius wants to go to the nearest town and get medicine so that something like this doesn't happen again. He would have to go through the forest and needs permission from the elders to enter the territory of those they don't speak of. The creatures can sense the true intentions of humans, and Lucius will be doing a good deed. He's not afraid of their wrath. The elders are shocked to hear this and flatly refuse. After sunset, Lucius gets dressed and tells his mother that he promised to keep Fenton company on the watchtower. Once there, he asks his friend if he has thought about the big cities. The watchman thinks that people there live unrighteously, and he's glad not to be in contact with them. In the morning, another dead animal is discovered in the village. The villagers are worried, and Alice Hunt tries to calm them down. It was probably done by a wolf or a coyote. Perhaps the predator suffers from madness as it doesn't eat the meat of its victims at all. Nonetheless, it's still important to stay vigilant and catch it as soon as possible. The elders again refute the rumors about forest creatures. They are much stronger than coyotes and have their own way of making their presence known. The villagers go home. Walker's daughter Kitty runs up to her father and asks for his blessing to get married. The man asks where the potential groom is. The girl, embarrassed, replies that he doesn't know anything yet.
The young man is unaware of your intentions?
He has a quiet way.
Her chosen one is the same Lucius Hunt. The father is confused, but quickly softens. He himself thinks Lucius is a good man. Walker gives his blessing, and his daughter happily embraces him. Kitty then finds the guy in his workshop and passionately confesses her love. She practically screams about her feelings, but Lucius coldly rejects her. The girl spends the whole evening in tears, while her younger sister tries to comfort her with lullabies. Ivy is blind from birth. Meanwhile, Lucius is delivering firewood to the villagers. He enters August's house, where the man thanks him for his concern for poor Daniel. The boy was also quite taciturn when he was alive, and he and Lucius were friends. The man says there is no running away from trouble, and it will always find you by smell. A mysterious dark box stands in the corner of the room. And at the other end of the village, a group of teenagers are testing each other's courage. They take turns standing on a tree stump and turning their backs to the dark forest. Whoever lasts the longest wins. One of the boys is shaking with fear and swears that something is coming toward him. The others urge him to stay still and not believe the silly legend. The distinct sound of howling startles the friends, and they rush back to the village. They live to see another day, for now. In the morning, the young men are picking on the weird Noah, and he fights them off with a stick. The boys fight and roll on the ground. The blind Ivy intervenes and calms them down. Noah obediently leaves with the girl. She, as always, threatens to lock him in the closet. The weirdo asks her not to do that and vows not to hit anyone anymore. They shake hands, and Noah kisses Ivy on the cheek to seal the deal. The girl playfully asks how they can pass the time now. She suggests a game of catch-up and abruptly dashes off. Noah goes after her. Despite her blindness, Ivy can navigate around her home village perfectly. They run up to an old stone and see Lucius sitting on it. He doesn't say anything, but the girl recognizes him. Ivy explains that some people give off a particular glow. Her father has one too. Lucius notes that Ivy runs like a guy. The girl takes that as a compliment. They talk about Kitty, whom Lucius rejected. This didn't come as a surprise to Ivy. The guy had been walking with the younger sister hand in hand since she was a little girl, and then stopped abruptly. Not once had he touched Ivy since then. Even when the girl deliberately fell beside him, he didn't give her a hand. For such a well-mannered and modest young man, this can only mean one thing. Lucius is secretly in love with Ivy and wants to hide it from the others. The boy is stunned and can't find anything to say. While they talk, Noah runs back and forth, trying to get the girl's attention. He puts a toad in her palm and then gives her berries. Lucius warns the blind girl that the berries are the bad color, bright red. The villagers bury and hide any things of that color so as not to attract those they don't speak of. He asks to do the same with Ivy's berries, but Noah has pockets full of them. Lucius realizes that the weirdo picked them a long time ago and asks him to tell him where they came from. In response, Noah shows him an ancient drawing on the stone depicting the forest creatures. After this, Lucius addresses the elders again. He tells them that Noah often goes in the forest for berries and the monsters don't touch him. The guy asks for permission to get medicine again, but this attempt fails too. In the evening, Alice calls her son for a talk. She wants to tell him about the big cities that Lucius is so eager to go to. The boy doesn't remember anything because they moved a long time ago. It happened after his father went to the market and was robbed, killed, and stripped naked there. That's what people are willing to do for profit in these hotbeds of crime and dishonor. Lucius wipes away his tears and says he doesn't care. He simply wants to do good for the village and has no intention of staying in the city. He doesn't understand the elders who insist on total isolation and are willing to pay for it with the lives of their children. Lucius points to the black box they always keep locked. Alice says that inside it lies a reminder of the past. The son is tired of the endless secrets. He wants to find out what lies inside, but his mother stops him. They must talk to Walker first, but Lucius doesn't trust him either. The man hides his feelings for Alice, since he, just like the boy, never touches the woman either. The son repeats to his mother the words of Ivy, which he heard in the afternoon. The woman thinks that it's nonsense. The next day, Lucius and the other boys put on yellow watchman's robes. They go around the boundaries of the village and paint the posts yellow. Finding himself alone, Lucius breaks the rules and fearlessly enters the forest. He sees a bush of red berries and plucks a branch. A growl immediately rumbles nearby. The guy hastily turns around and walks back. The creature doesn't attack him. After sunset, Lucius finds Ivy outside her house. They play hide and seek with Noah again, who is hiding in the house. The young people remain alone. The girl has heard that Lucius asked the elders to let him go to the big city. Of course, this is a noble urge, but it's better to obey the elders. The guy asks if she is angry about being blind. Ivy replies that she sees the world perfectly well. She just does it differently from Lucius. But then why doesn't she support him in his quest to get the medicine? Doesn't she see that children are dying from curable diseases? Maybe Noah, who clearly suffers from a mental disorder, could be cured of his illness. Ivy doesn't want to talk about this. Instead, she informs him that Kitty has found another fiancé and they are doing great. This is good news for her, because according to their traditions, the younger sister must wait until the older sister is married.
I am now free to receive interest from anyone who might have interest.
Lucius, as usual, doesn't say anything, and Ivy goes into the house to look after the babies with Kitty. Noah is hiding in the closet there too. A little later on the watchtower, Fenton hears a noise. He opens the hatch, thinking it is Lucius. To his horror, a silhouette in red attire runs below. The creatures have broken the pact and are heading for the village. Unable to believe his eyes, Fenton rings the bell and the villagers rush for shelter. Noah claps his hands and dances again, while Lucius helps everyone lock the windows and doors. He himself has no time to make it inside, and hides from the monsters around the corner of a house. Ivy is waiting for the guy on the doorstep and refuses to go into the basement with the others. She knows Lucius will come to make sure that she's alive. The blind girl extends her hand, but the growling draws closer. Kitty begs her sister to come to her senses. When the monster is just about to grab her, Lucius firmly takes Ivy's hand and leads her into the shelter. With terror, they hear the creatures breaking into the house. Fortunately, no one is hurt, and in the morning, they discover red marks on the doors. Monsters have never attacked for no reason before, and the elders call everyone to an emergency meeting. They ask if anyone knows anything and receive a note. In it, Lucius confesses that he broke the treaty yesterday, and the creature spotted him in the forest. He repents for his act, and Walker approaches him. He holds no grudge against the crying Lucius and praises his bravery. Time passes, and Kitty's wedding day arrives. The villagers hold a feast and, according to their tradition, share a slain animal with the forest creatures. To do this, the lookout throws it over the village boundary and leaves. At the celebration, Ivy chats with one of the elders. The woman tells her that she too had a sister. She was only 22 when a couple of thugs attacked and killed her in a dark alley. Ivy is shocked and pictures the scene all too well. Just what kind of monsters live in the cities? Later, she hugs her sister tightly and can't hold back her tears. Alice congratulates Walker on his daughter's wedding and extends her hand to him. The man doesn't touch it, though he comfortably does so with the others. Everyone is dancing and having fun when suddenly children's screams ring out. The boys run to Walker and tell him that the monsters have entered the village again. This time, they have left more warnings and clearly want to drive the people out of the valley. The elders interrupt the celebration and lead the villagers to their homes. Lucius takes Ivy's hand. When everyone comes closer, a horrible sight is revealed. The bodies of skinned animals lying everywhere. On the doors are claw marks that could not have been left by coyotes. At night, Ivy can't sleep and goes out onto the porch. There sits Lucius, who plans on keeping watch all night. The girl says that tomorrow they will question all the villagers to see if anyone has broken the pact. The danger doesn't seem to paralyze her, but on the contrary, it makes her feel more alive. She recalls the game of the boys who competed in bravery on the tree stump. Lucius has set a record that no one has since been able to beat. Ivy asks how he overcame his fear. The boy replies that it's not his own well-being that he is concerned about, but the good deeds he can do. Then the girl blurts out, will they dance when they get married? Lucius is shocked and confused. He begins to get angry. Why does Ivy rush things and could never contain her chatter? Just with her mere presence, she brings chaos into his life and prevents him from thinking about anything else. Lucius has lost his peace of mind and can't do anything because of his love for her. The only thing he fears is that something will happen to Ivy.
And yes, I will dance with you on our wedding night.
He takes the initiative and kisses her gently. The next day, the two inform their parents, and rumors of the new couple spread through the village. Ivy goes to talk to Kitty to avoid hurting her feelings. If Kitty tells her to, she'll call off the wedding. The older sister replies that their familial love cannot be destroyed. She blesses Ivy for marriage and only wishes her happiness. At this moment, Lucius hears a knock at the door. On the doorstep stands Noah in tears. He's trembling and can't say a word. Lucius admits that he knew about Noah's feelings towards Ivy. She really does care for the odd guy, but a woman's love can be different. The guy doesn't get to finish his speech. Noah stabs his rival in the stomach with a knife. Lucius falls, squirming in pain. He pleads for help, but the lunatic only stabs him again. Afterward, Noah returns home to his parents' house. He takes a seat in his rocking chair and cannot believe what he has done. His hands are red with blood. The parents see this and immediately run off to tell the elders about the trouble. They don't yet know whom their son has attacked, and Noah himself is unable to say anything. The villagers rush to find the victim. Ivy hears the news and immediately goes to Lucius. From the anxiety, she gets a little lost. The girl counts her steps to get to the right house, which stands further from the rest. Nobody answers her cries, and Ivy stumbles over a body on the floor. She tries to wake her fiancé, but nothing works. Walker happens to be nearby and sees the sad scene.
Papa, I cannot see his color.
Fortunately, Lucius is still breathing, but his condition is critical. The elders are telling everyone to expect the worst. Hope is fading by the minute. Ivy clenches her fist in rage. Still in her blood-stained shirt, she goes to the room where the criminals are kept. The guard lets the girl through to Noah, and the guy holds out his hand to his beloved. Ivy slaps him in the face and proceeds to pummel the villain. The guards drag her away, locking Noah inside. The guy howls loudly in despair and bangs against the walls. Ivy then comes to her father and demands that they allow her to go and get the medicine. If Lucius dies, her life will lose all meaning. Still, she will accept any decision. Walker has personally stitched up the guy's wounds and seen the onset of an infection. Afterward, he asks the second doctor if the medicine from the city will help. With concern in his voice, he confirms that with it, there will be hope of recovery. The elders tried to dissuade Walker from breaking the vow they made to each other, no contact with civilization. But the man no longer believes in their past motives. Letting Lucius die is as heinous and evil as that committed in the cities. The father returns to his daughter and takes her for a walk. He tells her about his father, who was the richest man in a huge city. He had all the money in the world, but these pieces of paper only bring trouble and corrupt humans. Ivy's grandfather didn't notice this and lived large, doing whatever he wanted. He was kind and taught his son to always lead people rather than be led. He died in his sleep, but not of old age. A greedy man put a gun to his temple while he was at his most vulnerable. For this reason, Walker founded the village where no currency is used and there are no rich and no poor. He wants his daughter to understand him completely and continue his work. And now he will show her the biggest secret of the village, which must not be revealed to anyone else. Walker leads her to an old barn and asks her not to scream. Ivy is shocked. Immediately afterward, she packs her belongings and tells Lucius that she is going to get him help. The father has also given his approval and informs the elders. He orders 2 boys to accompany his blind daughter. Ivy boldly sets foot on the new territory, feeling her way with a stick. With her, she carries magical stones that should protect her from monsters. But just after a few minutes, one of the young men freezes with fear. He doesn't believe that the stones or capes will help them from the creatures and leaves back to the village. Ivy and Fenton continue on their way and set up a tent to shelter from the rain. But soon, Fenton gives up as well.
You will be safe. They will not harm you. Because you cannot see, they will take pity on you.
He asks to let him go, and the girl agrees to stay without help. As soon as the boy is out of sight, she drops the useless stones on the ground. Her father told her everything. Behind the barn door were those they don't speak of. Ivy touched their claws and screamed in terror, but Walker calmed his daughter down. These were just costumes the elders wore to intimidate the villagers and keep them in the valley. They did everything they could to keep everyone away from cities, making scary noises, taking offerings, and much more. Walker, however, doesn't know who's responsible for the slain and skinned animals, but he suspects one of the elders. They really were willing to do whatever it took to get away from civilization, and considered it the highest good for everyone. Ivy feels sorry for the elders who are now stuck in their own trap. At parting, Walker gave her a gold watch and a piece of paper with the name of the medicine on it. She must promise not to tell anyone about their settlement so that outsiders won't look for them. Meanwhile, Walker goes to see Alice. He says he let Ivy go to get medicine for her son. He couldn't act otherwise, since the woman is dear to him. Alice is grateful and wants to embrace the man, but he avoids her touch. Although the elders were against it, Walker convinces her that Ivy and Lucius must survive to take their place. Who else is capable of taking on the burden of leadership?
It is too painful. I cannot bear it.
You have jeopardized everything we've made.
August is the first to agree with the man. They have not been able to escape trouble. Of course, a blind girl is not the best person for such a task, but Walker is completely confident in his daughter. She is driven by the strongest feeling in the world, love. Ivy spends a dark night alone. Only lullabies keep fear at bay. In the morning, she continues on her way, but falls into a deep pit. The girl manages to grab the roots and hang on to the edge. Gathering her last bit of strength, she saves her gear and pulls herself out. Covered in mud, she sobs in terror, leaning on a fallen tree. The girl starts walking as she suddenly hears the sound of snapping twigs. Someone is clearly tracking her, and Ivy rushes away, fighting against sharp bushes. She desperately gulps for air and fights panic, unaware that she's in the middle of a glade full of red berries. A growl comes from nearby. A living and completely real forest creature in a cape is getting close to her. Ivy hides behind a tree and tries to quietly get away. The blind girl steps on a branch, and the monster lunges after her. He knocks her down, but Ivy quickly gets up and runs away. Soon, she stumbles upon the fallen tree she was leaning on earlier. The girl stands up to her full height and spreads her arms. She does this at the very edge of the pit, luring the creature into a trap. As the monster lunges at her, Ivy swiftly dodges and the monster flies down. At this time, Noah's parents go to visit him, but find only a hole in the floor. He also took one of the suits that was hidden in the basement of the house. Noah was the one who tried to grab Ivy, and now he's lying in the hole and can't get out because of his broken bones. The guy bleeds out, and his soul leaves the body. While Lucius is fighting for his life, Ivy keeps going forward. She has lost her cane, but uses a stick she found. She remembers her father's instructions and walks out onto a wide path. There, she takes off her cloak and runs forward as fast as she can. Finally, she runs into a thick hedge and climbs it. At this time, the elders unlock black boxes that contain memories of the past. Each of them has suffered at the hands of a cruel and wicked person, having lost loved ones. But all this happened not in the 19th century, but at the end of the 20th. The elders, then ordinary American citizens, met at a support group. Walker used to teach U.S. history at the university. His father was shot and killed by a companion with whom they had an argument over money. The killer couldn't bear the guilt and took his own life. All this led the son to the idea of a village isolated from the world. His father's inheritance made it possible to bring the ambitious project to life.
I have an idea that I would like to talk to you about.
So it's the present day. A nature reserve employee's Jeep stops next to a strange girl walking along a hedge. A young man named Kevin asks the stranger to get back in her car and not to wander around the forbidden area. Ivy doesn't understand what he's talking about and explains that she came out of the woods. After some persuasion, the guy takes the piece of paper with the name of the medicine and promises to help. Kevin still doesn't understand where the girl came from. There are no settlements in the woods beyond the hedge.
You have kindness in your voice. I did not expect that.
Ivy gives the employee the gold watch for his favor, and he goes to the security booth. The supervisor is alarmed by the story with the girl. He demands Kevin not to talk to anyone or go back to her. The guy lies that these were just teenagers who got lost, and the situation is taken care of. The boss praises him. They get paid a lot of money for the easy job of guarding the nature reserve, so it's best to keep a low profile. A few years ago, someone paid the airlines to keep their planes from flying over this forest. Back then, they had to take nosy journalists off the hedges. The supervisor gets distracted, and Kevin sneaks a few vials of medicine from the refrigerator. He also asks for a maintenance ladder to fix a bent sign. With its help, Ivy climbs back into the forest and finds her way home.
Ivy has returned with medicines from the towns. She was attacked by a creature and killed it.
Noah's parents immediately realize what is going on and mourn for their son. Walker promises to find his body and give the boy a proper burial. By hiding the truth from the villagers, Noah's sacrifice will make every story about the creatures seem all the more true. However, they could also end this strange experiment and come out to the people. Walker himself doesn't want to do that and would prefer to continue living the old way. The elders rise from their seats, agreeing with him. Ivy enters the house and takes Lucius's hand. She has come back to him against all odds. It took the crew 11 weeks to build the set with the village. About 300 people worked on it. The movie boasts an impressive all-star cast. It features 3 Oscar winners and 4 nominees. Director M. Night Shyamalan organized a 19th century boot camp before filming so that the actors could experience that period of time. There, Joaquin Phoenix made the wooden cane for Bryce Howard. On it, he engraved the name of the actress's character, Ivy. When the creatures come to the village at night, Ivy and Kitty are looking after the younger sisters. Noah is also spending the evening with them. It is likely that Noah's parents were playing the creatures that night. As always, look for the name of the movie in the description of the video. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. What scary things did your parents tell you when you were a child to protect you from danger? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.